Dan RadioStyle. I hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. There's three paths that all of us will find ourselves on. Understanding your path, what you're here to do and be and learn, actually affects the way you should try to manifest. If you're having a hard time manifesting a specific person, this video will likely give you some serious insight into what your issues are and why you're having a hard time manifesting that specific person back into your life. Now, the three paths that I've talked about, there's the law of one, which covers two of them, okay? So you're either here to learn service to self, which is a path where I try to take care of me. Everything is relative to how does it benefit me? What do I get from this? Those kinds of concepts. I'm not passing judgment whether one's right or wrong, because ultimately, from a universal standpoint, what I do for myself, I do for another. What I do for another, I do for myself. We are all one. So from that concept, the law of one allows two paths. Now, these paths eventually come back to the wholeness, if you will, of we are everything. But from the fourth density, fifth density, you actually can experience these separately. And a lot of us are here to do that. The third path is people that have already graduated both service to self and service to others and are now here to try to help teach the law of one. Now, why is this so important? Well, if you're a service to self path, you've got very specific focuses. And finding people that are going to work within that and the techniques you will use mind game-wise are extremely important. If you're service to self and you're using service to other talk or service to other mental games, you're not going to believe it, and vice versa. If you're a service to others person and you're trying to use a lot of the very service to self-oriented manifestation techniques, it's not going to feel right. You're going to have this complexity within your mind where you're like, it just doesn't feel right. Like you're going against your soul, like you're going against your purpose, like you're going against what you're here to do. So first and foremost, I'm not here to say if one is right or the other is wrong. That's not the case. They're two paths to the same thing. I actually think I've graduated both of them. I don't know for sure, but I definitely have some comfort in both sides. But I'm very service to others focused, always have been, and always will be. For me, it's the funnest way to experience myself is by helping others. And again, what you do for another, you do for yourself. What you do for yourself, you do for another. But there are different karmic and different universal laws that kick in depending on the path you go. So you'll experience life a little bit differently. So let's start with service to self. Service to self is more of a path where, and I don't want this to sound like it's selfish, but it kind of is, and I don't mean that in a bad way. Again, it's just the way you view the world. The world is your oyster. You're here to experience the world, and everything that's out there is here for you to experience. It's yours to have, right? So if there's individuals that you're interested in, your standpoint from manifestation should be very self-focused, very, they need me, I am perfect for them, I am the ideal situation, I can help keep them, they're safe with me. Not actually I can help keep them safe, but they're safe with me, because by the very nature of them being with me, they're going to be okay because I'm okay. And so if they want to hop on the bandwagon, cool. So those techniques, when you're manifesting somebody, and maybe they're being a little resistant, maybe they're not quite up to snuff, maybe they're not quite accepting things with you, you need to hold that whole image in your head that I am the perfect person for them. I am ideal for them. I am everything they should even want, and they are here to help me. They've got this factor that's super cool for me. They've got this factor that's super cool for me. And you focus on those components. You focus on how they fit into your world. You focus on how you are the ideal for them. And from a very service to self standpoint, it's not too hard to get your brain to kind of wrap around that. But when you're coming at it from this standpoint of people have free will and all these kinds of things, when you're a service to self path, that will actually cause a lot of disharmony within your heart, within your mind. You can't allow other people to have options when it's all about you. And it's, again, right, wrong, or indifferent, that's not what we're here for. It's understanding yourself. It's understanding how you are here to experience the world. Now, one thing that's tough about the service to self path is you have to be self-oriented 95% of the time to actually graduate. So it is a tricky path to graduate, but one that many, many do. What on the other side is the service to others path. And a service to others path is a little bit different. Service to others path is you put energy out by helping others, by doing good for others. Now, what that does, which is a little different than service to self, and I'm going to try to make these make sense, but when you put good energy out there to others, it creates good energy back. What you send out comes back to you. So the service to self path and the service to others path, what you're sending out are very different things. And so what you get back are very different things. Service to others, you typically will find that the more good stuff you tend to do, or as they frequently say in law of attraction circles, is be the thing that you desire to have back to you. Again, if you're coming at this from a service to self platform, the idea of being kindness or being, like, that's absurd to you. Who cares? I don't need to be kind. These people are here to help me. I am in charge of my own reality, my own world. This is just me pushed out. They're not even real beings, real people. Who cares? Versus, I'm here to help these people. And when I do that, it creates this neat little karmic circle back into myself. Now, what I've realized, and I've talked about this a lot, obviously service to others is, I think, pretty self-explanatory after I've explained service to self. And by the way, I'm going to do more Law of One stuff over here. I have it on my other channel, like a few of them. I'm actually going to bring that over to this channel rather than leaving it over there. So I'll be coming out with some Law of One stuff to try to explain this concept a little better. It goes back to this LLE research back in 1980-ish. Again, there's just some very cool stuff. This channel, Lady Rita, was giving some amazing information, supposedly channeling from this group called Ra, who was supposedly even the group that was involved with ancient Egypt. So anyway, a lot of history there. But the service to others path is very much about sending out good vibes, being kind and good to others, being the thing that you desire to have, and that you'll actually find it reciprocates back to you. Now, as I was saying, when it can get a little tricky is if, say, for example, I am on a service to others path. Now, to graduate service to others, I just need to be others focused 51% of the time. Then I can graduate. I can graduate to the next level. And we can talk about that more later, but for right now, let's just keep it simple. Graduation, right? So what's really important about that is if you're behaving in your path, in your lane, if you will, if I'm service to others and I'm being kind to others 60% of the time, for example, when I meet people, they get that kind of groovy vibe from me. I've got that feel. I've got that kindness kind of feel, and maybe I have kind eyes, right? But 60% of the time, I'm really good to other people, and I'm focused on others, so it gives me a feeling that others perceive. Now, vice versa, if I'm service to self, and I'm doing more selfish behaviors, if you will, more of the time, that kind of gives you that feeling as well, and that's where the karma's kind of different paths. Your service to self path is a little trickier because you can come off as arrogant. You can come off as selfish. You can come off as not interested in other people's lives or dilemmas. You kind of have that feel about you. So sometimes when people meet you, they may not get a good, happy, groovy feel from you. And that might be problematic for them. Again, whether we like it or not, people still have their choices to make. Now, if your service to self focusing on free will, not a good thing. It's not going to benefit you any, and it's going to cause some problems in your head. So just don't focus on it. When you're coming at it from a service to others side, yeah, people have free will. And that's key. And that's what actually makes it easier. Now, back to the manifesting. It's very easy to get somebody in front of you. I've said this many times, and I absolutely believe I've done it countless times in my life. Manifesting a happenstance to bump into somebody, be it famous people, be it a person you're interested in, be it a friend you haven't seen in a long time, be it a parent. It doesn't matter who you want to bump into. Bumping into people is the easy part. So from a manifestation standpoint, there's two steps to it, in my opinion. There is the getting them in front of you, and then there is how that interaction goes from there. Now, again, if you're focused on service to others, You want to kind of be more focused around how can I be helpful to this? How can I benefit this person? How can I really enjoy this path we're on together? Right? You're worried about them and their happiness and how they're feeling about things versus the other side where you're worried about how you're feeling. How do I feel about this person? Is this person going to work for me? Am I going to be happy with this person? Is this going to benefit me? Does this work towards my long-term goals? Whatever your path you're on, you've got to stay focused in that mindset. That's how you command your crew, if you will. Those are the words you're telling the crew inside your subconscious mind how you want to navigate the waters you're about to go through. Now, when the people meet you, the way that service to self paths tend to work better is when you've got people that are okay with that little bit of drama or okay with giving their rights up to another or okay with giving all that authority to you or okay with being their so service to others that your service to self actually balances out well. I think there's even examples probably where a couple service to self people can be together, but they usually have kind of a weird relationship. They're both very self-centered, very strong, very go-getter. But then sort of when they come together as a team, they're, it's kind of like fist bumping. Yeah, who'd you screw over today? Well, I screwed over this person, right? Like you've got that kind of unity around the cause. But ultimately, they're not looking out for each other. They're still looking out for self, but since self is taken care of, it ends to benefit the other as well. When your service to others, it has to do with how often, I think, as far as that feeling. Because again, when you meet somebody, when you get them in front of you, it's really important to understand that the energy I radiate to them is going to be what makes them attracted or not attracted to me. Now, say, for example, you're a service to others path, which I think is probably the more common path, at least for a lot of people. And I think a lot of people may not be on the graduating side of it. So, for example, 51% of the time, you need to be service to others focused in order to be essentially graduating. Now, what happens with a lot of service to others people early on in their path is they're actually service to others focused maybe 40% of the time, right? So when I was talking about how those who are service to others focused 60% of the time, they've got that good feel to them. Well, conversely, if you're selfish 60% of the time, essentially, and 40% of the time you actually care what the other person thinks, you start to give off that sort of selfish feel. People may not like being around you. You might not feel comfortable for them. Maybe you've picked the ideal mate that's ideal for you and you've done all the work in your mind to say so. But when they get in front of you, what you've sent out to the universe isn't very attractive, so they're not interested energetically. Now, how you fix that is you focus on being service to others more often. You focus on being the thing that you desire to have. You want more love in your life? Be more loving to random people, to anything, to an animal that you don't know. It's not an issue of being more loving to the person you want. It's an issue of being more loving to others. And what that does is creates this energy back to you. So when you do get in front of the specific person that you're looking for, your energy is awesome. Your energy is everything that they want. And when you can do that, you can find yourself being in a situation in front of the person you care about, and now all of a sudden they're getting a groovy, happy, tingly feeling from you. And now they want to talk, they want to engage, they want to get to know you better. And so you continue to do that service to others path. You continue to be that great person, that wonderful person, and they love you more and more and more for it. Because again, you're being true to who you are. And again, to the converse, if you're service to self, strengthen that service to self attitude. No matter what the girl says or guy says that you're going after, it's about you first. And by playing that strength card, that creates an imbalance oftentimes. And I'm not saying it's healthy, but it's just the way it plays out. But it creates an imbalance in the other person, which then kind of makes them attracted to you. So it's a different kind of concept, and you've got to play by different kinds of rules. Again, most important thing, figure out what path you're actually on. Are you service to others or are you service to self? Again, no judgment. Both paths lead to the same unity. Both paths lead to source. They're just two very different paths. They're yin and yang of each other, and that's great. And actually, if you manage to graduate both paths, by the time you get to 6th density, you understand law of one. Tends to make you kind of an expert, if you will. And then you typically come back to other places and teach law of one. You help people understand unity. You help people understand the bigger picture. And oddly, the one thing that's really challenging about the service to self path is when you finally do graduate to the 6th density, the one thing you learn, the one universal thing that you finally learn is everybody has free will. You can't focus on that if you're trying to graduate through the service to self path. In fact, that's just an absurd thought to you, and it doesn't work. But ultimately, when you come all the way around, you realize I can lead a horse to water. I can't make people do things. I can try to put barricades and blocks and obstructions. I can try to focus them off in a direction. But ultimately, I can't make anybody do anything. People have free will. And we come back to unity realizing that we all have free will. And a lot of us choose to experience that in different ways. Sometimes we give that free will to others. Sometimes we hold it very strong and put up our dukes if somebody says, I'm taking your free will from you. And some of us aren't really sure how we feel about it. So understanding who you are relative to your path is going to make the biggest difference in the world. If you want more of something in your service to others, be more of that something. Don't give up on that. Hold true to that. If your service to self, be more about who you are, how you're guiding through this world, the fact that just be strong in that. Don't accept the fact that other people can get in your way and can slow you down and can stop. It's not going to work for you. It's going to always bother you inside your head if you let those thoughts come in. You have to just focus on where you're going. And in both paths, that's truly the case. But how, again, we experience the world differs. Now, I will say one thing, because of this little pesky free will thing, and I know some people have a hard time with that, it just depends what path you're on. And so you'll come to terms with that concept when you're ready. But one thing that happens, and this is something that a lot of people experience, especially when you're service to others, is you're going to come across to some service to self people. You might even find yourself liking some of these service to self people. You might even spend time in relationships with some of these service to self people. Some of these service to self people could be abusive. They could be physically abusive. They could be a lot of things that maybe are not really healthy when it comes to relationships, which is pretty common when you're dealing with service to self individuals. It's just because they're self-focused. That's just, you don't matter as much to them as they matter to them. So forcing them to not be service to self, you can't do. If someone's path is very specific, well, again, service to self, service to others, that's your soul path. So to try to manifest a change in someone else's soul path kind of puts you up at that God level almost, don't you think? And ultimately, we choose our own paths. Others don't choose our paths for us. And one of the other things that we learn through service to self and service to others. So when trying to force somebody to be something they're not, or trying to force somebody to accept your dominion, when they're like, yo, I'm getting away from you, you're abusive, you're mean, you say horrible things to me, you're aloof, you don't ever seem to care about me. Sometimes when people finally get away from that and you serve the purpose of teaching them how important it is to be with someone that cares, you're still, again, helping others, but you're doing it in a weird karmic way. Now, for service to others people, they may meet somebody that's very service to self and try very hard to get them to actually care about themselves. And that service to self person, if truly following their path, will not be more service to you. You will not be able to alter the fact that they are worried about them, they are selfish, they are aloof, they are right? They're interrogating, intimidating. They're doing all those different things. And we don't want them to. And so we try to use manifestation techniques to change them. You can't. That is their sole purpose. That's who they are. So there are times where you've got to look at, what am I trying to manifest? Am I trying to manifest love? Okay, let's keep that as the primary focus. Am I trying to manifest just somebody in my life? Let's keep that as the primary focus. Am I trying to manifest a very specific purpose or person no matter what? No matter what. That's where we sometimes get into problems because decisions are made, life paths have been chosen, and how we interact, the karma we've created, the lessons that we've taught others play a larger role than our own desires. Now, again, service to self, that's tough. And at some point, you're like, all right, whatever, I don't need him. And that's usually kind of the easier way to sort of spin away from somebody that you can't conquer. And find someone you can, because ultimately that's what matters. And from a standpoint of service to others, sometimes you've got to step back and go, I can't change people. I love this person. I would walk to the ends of the earth for this person, but they don't care about me. And I deserve better than that. That's a lesson in life. That is a lifelong lesson. That's a lesson that attaches to your soul and you remember through countless lives. The lessons that we learn through interacting with each other is paramount. And yes, sometimes we do that through love. Sometimes we do that through failed love. And sometimes we do that through failing in manifestation because, again, we're trying to have something that we've already had, may not be compatible, might have served its purpose already, and yet we're still stubborn and sticking to it. I have found that manifestations, when they're legit, when they're the true person of any kind whatsoever, you have true friend, true lover, true whatever you're looking for, true business partner, you get a vibe from them. Whether you're service to self or service to others, you're going to get a vibe from that person. And when you're with the right person, which is generally pretty easy, it's like that. There's chemistry. There's an instant connection. If you find yourself constantly struggling and swimming upstream, as Esther Hicks would say, constantly swimming up current, stop fighting it. Understand who you are. Accept that I can't control everything. As much as we want to, as much as law of attraction says you can, there's still factors that are outside of yourself. There's still larger soul purposes. Understand your path. Understand who you are. And understand that through understanding who you are, you will get to where you're trying to go much easier. Remember, very easy to get someone in front of you. Imagine it, see them in front of you. Really, that's all you got to do. And, within whatever amount of time it needs to be, they'll pop up in front of you. Now, sometimes there could be delays because maybe you need to work on who you are. Remember, are you only 40% of the time your service to others when maybe you could be 51% or 60% or 70%? Because there's a very different feeling about you if that's the case. And if you're only at 40% service to others and you meet your soulmate, they may have a first opinion of you that sucks. And that might be it. You might be Dunskies. So the fact that it's taking longer might have more to do with you being more of what you're here to be. And when you do that, you enhance your energy and you attract things to you based off that. And conversely, if you're service to self and you've got someone in mind, but maybe you're not quite solid yet on your service to self mentality, maybe you're still a little weak on letting your partners get away with certain things when you shouldn't. Again, I'm just trying to come up with... Service to self is not my forte. It's, but again, it's one of those things where if you're not quite ready internally to be strong enough in your stance, in your devotion to self, you may not meet that person yet because, frankly, your energy's not right yet. And when you finally get that energy and you meet that person, they may look at you and go, God, there's just something weird. His confidence, it's so weird just how confident he is or she is. And so they may not see it as a negative, even though it might be a little more negative in their minds, and they might find that out, or maybe it's a perfect fit. But whatever the case is, when we get our energy right and we're standing in front of the person we're interested in, or standing in front of a person that we're interested in, that will make all the difference in the world for you. Your energy is what it is all about. Being who you're here to be and doing it as good as you possibly can will help you in every single avenue when it comes to dealing with people. Whether they're someone you want to be emotionally relationship, friendship relationship, whether it's someone that's going to be a boss relationship, whether it's just somebody you know professionally. These people will react and interact based off of that energy that you're presenting. It is the biggest secret and the biggest trick into having whatever you want. Whatever path you want to go, make sure you're being who you're supposed to be as the best of your ability, and you will actually find your manifestations begin to come true much more simply. And you'll also choose better choices as far as who fits and matches you better. Go forth, make this happen. See how easy this is to work. I'm telling you, this is a beautiful thing. Stand radio style.